All right, as a last step, I want to add in a texture overlay to add this sort of atmospheric perspective to my composition, where things get kind of washed out and softer as they go back. And you see how the mist is over the valley. And even though it obscures a lot of the detail, it just makes it a lot more believable. So I'd like to add that. And the way I do it is I find new reference. For instance, I might go to Google Images, and I might search for something like clouds. Or if I want to be a little bit more particular, I can say texture overlay or a texture fill, because designers make these things available for you. And you'll find a variety of them. It actually doesn't even really matter what resolution they are, as long as they're not terrible. This is a nice one. It's 500 by 300. That's pretty small, but it's workable. Because we're going to composite with this, but we're not going to composite it anywhere near 100% opacity. So I also got one from Pixabay that's larger, and I'm just going to drop those two. Here, let me minimize this. Drop those two on top of my piece. I'm going to move it all the way to the top. Let me bring it in again. So select your very top layer, F11 to get back to your desktop, drag and drop it in, and then I'm going to stretch it. It doesn't matter if it distorts it. I'm going to stretch it over the entirety of the image, like so. And then I might soften it even more by going to Filter and Blur and Gaussian Blur. And that's basically what I'm going to be doing to the background, but instead of actually having to take detail out of the background, I'm going to be layering this on top. Okay, so now I'm going to take the opacity way down, and you see automatic mist. But I could play with some other ways of doing it. Instead of normal mode, I could try overlay mode. You can see how that brings out some of the sharp contrast, but it does it kind of everywhere the same. And that helps. That kind of glazes over the color and makes it interesting. You could also try pin light, which is what I like. That kind of shows the mist coming through. But again, its direction is not really controlled by you. So let me just put it at normal. And now what I would do is I would right-click and rasterize this layer so I can erase from it. And I would use a really big eraser. Really big. Very soft-edged. And at about a 50% opacity. And then in the foreground, I'm going to kind of sweep where I want the definition to be more clear. I'm going to erase away. Because I'm only at 50% opacity, I can do multiple passes, right? Get something really sharp. And then in the background here, maybe take it to even a lower opacity, have more control. I'm going to bring out this rock a little bit. It makes it look kind of like mist is coming through the valley. Catch the edge of this. Just peek through a little bit in some places. And I'm just erasing the mist. If I take away too much, take that cloud. So big difference. Right? Huge in terms of the atmosphere of your landscape. And it's just a really simple step. And it's far better than going to individual layers and then blurring them out, which won't look so organic anyway. So that is a texture fill, a texture overlay. If you want something really dramatic, bring in my other one. You can even shape clouds. So I'll stretch this out over everything. I could turn it, I could do all kinds of things. So I want this to be kind of low-hanging mist. And I'll set this on pin light. Color's too strange. Let's do overlay. Take its opacity way down. But I can select just a part of it. So I want to select a cloud now that's kind of weaving through. So the cloud's going to go like this. It's going to kind of weave through here, go behind that, go through here, and hang into the valley here, into the foreground. It's like a little misty dragon I'm selecting. Okay, there it is. I'm going to duplicate that. So at full opacity, it looks like this, right? I'm going to blur it so its edges are soft with Gaussian blur. Then I'm going to take its opacity down. Play with its blending mode. I can play with its color because this is a very blue mist and it doesn't need to be. And I can then erase, of course, from its edges at a higher opacity, I think. A smaller brush. And shape it a little bit. Especially as it goes behind this rock formation. So you can build up your own atmospheric distortions, but I like how it's kind of pouring through there. That's helpful. Bridge go over the top of it. It helps the water be a little bit more inviting. And I can play with its levels because it looks a little bright. So let me darken it a bit, limit it a bit, until you feel it's most helpful. Now we didn't do these early on because they make selecting layers a little bit more difficult to have transparency over the top. But they can really help finish it off. Because I have that mist, I feel I can be a little bit bolder. Ooh, bolder is a nice pun. On this other layer. Bring out these details just a bit more. So really just using 2 texture overlays gives you a whole lot of extra atmosphere and potential for depth. All right, so let's say you're happy with it. You can delete any layers that aren't turned on, because these are all the ones that create the image. You can even delete that background fill gray layer or white layer. I still have my locked sketch and I should leave that in. So now I'm going to save it, File Save, as a PSD file. Then I'm going to save it again, File Save As, a JPEG file to the desktop. So my PSD will be in my folder where I opened it from. But now I'm saving my finished landscape assignment, no longer the layout, as a JPEG to the desktop. I want it to be fewer than 5 megabytes. So I'm going to take it down to either 8 or 9 quality. Yeah, it looks like 8 quality, which is fine because it's going on online once. That's going to help it upload faster, and it won't take any of the quality out of the image. It's just like rounding it. And that's why we save our PSD file, because we don't use those JPEGs later anyway. Now I want to make sure I have my sketch saved. And if I don't, I can find it here and save that. Just turn off all the other layers, save that to the desktop as your sketch as a JPEG, but remember to give it a new name, so sketch at the end, so you don't overwrite the last JPEG you saved. Now this is a cropped sketch, but it works. You could also submit, and I think you would find it more helpful, that original screen grab sketch that you made. So here's mine from your sketchbook. And that shows all of your thinking. Okay, once you have those, they should be on your desktop. So here's my finished JPEG. Here's my sketch. And I am going to go to PhotoBucket. And it should already be logged in if you're using Chrome. And remember, we bought a membership, so we shouldn't have to have ads, and it should work for us nicely. Go to Library, find the right folder for Digital One. Under Assignments now, not Exercises, our first assignment. This is a hard deadline. You need to have something in it by midnight tonight. Fantasy Landscape. Just like it says on the board, when you upload, you need to title them. With the sketch showing first. And the way you do that, you click on your sketch. This will help them come together. You add your title, and this is the naming convention I want for this semester. FA16 for Fall 16, your first name only, and then a number. So this is what I want to have show up first. So this is number 1. This is what I want to have show up second. So this is number 2. And because I named my file with my name, if the titling isn't working, I'll still be able to see that the file is in fact belongs to you and can give you credit if you named your files correctly with your first name. All right, and then that's all there is to it. So we want to upload them here, and then we'll do our critique from here. And I'll have it's organized by title, so it's showing my pieces together. And we'll see what we get. All right.